Sharpening grooming shears. I normally don't do that many grooming shears. Well, not as many as hairstylists. I'm doing a lot of different shears here lately. But there's let's say three basic kinds of grooming shears that you need to know because they're sharpened differently. So I have all of them right here in my hand. So let's take a look at it, and we're going to talk about honed and non-honed shears. You may hear me talking about that more in the future. By the way, if you're new to my channel, and I've noticed most of you are, I tend to talk like you've been following me all along, but I've got hundreds and hundreds of videos, and most of them are about shear sharpening, although I do touch on clipper blades and occasionally knives. That's not my specialty. But I'd like to explain about how to sharpen these shears. This one would be more of an explanation to someone who normally does beauty shears and gets an occasional grooming shear and how to know what to do with it. And we're going to be using our Scimech Flathone today. I'll be using Japanese Waterstone, and all those products and things are found in the product page in the description, and you'll see things on our website. We have a lot of sharpening events. We have sharpeners jams. I have Bonika shears, but I also have a Sharpeners Jam group that is just for sharpeners. So put in comments of things you'd like to see on this channel. And thank you for subscribing and saying like and all of those things, because I love doing these videos, and basically that's my pay, is you're saying, hey, thank you, Bonnie, that was helpful. That's what I get paid, because the little bit I make off the channel, I usually buy, see, I got a new mic. I usually invest it back into the channel because I feel guilty taking any money from it, because this is like the fun part of my job. So I got these groomer shears in, and what I want you to understand is two of these are curved, and you'll see some stylish shears that are curved. So we're going to leave them to last because they're not fun to do. One's a guide and one is says SST06 Japan, but it's definitely a groomer curve shear because you see the little thing to keep you from poking the dog. But there are some barbers and hairstylists that use the curved shears, and this is Buttercut Croc. So I'm going to set them aside. We'll do them next, or last. And then we have two Kenchiis, and I'm very familiar with Kenchii because we were around when they first came out, and actually know Sammy, who started Kenchii, and worked with him on sharpening back in the early days. And so there's two Kenchiis, and then there's a guide. This is what I would call non-honed. It's got a hollow to it. This one's definitely non-honed, this curved one. You see how flat it is? It's not much of a shovel shape in here. Or concave. This one is non-honed. It's not much of a shovel shape in here. This Kenchii, the hollow is in here differently. This has a deeper hollow. It was put in with a smaller wheel, where this one has a more shallow hollow that was put in with a larger wheel. The ones with a larger wheel, you want to smooth off the inside edge, but it's not as critical to have a rod line as you do these with the deeper hollow. Also, this one originally was beveled. What I mean by bevel, it's got like a flat edge here. And then this one, this is the Kenchii 5-star. Originally, I know this was convex, just because I'm very familiar with Kenchii. But it's beveled now. So I have to make the decision whether I want to reconvex it or leave it beveled. This one, the same thing. It's been beveled. The rod line's pretty much gone. And I have to decide whether I want to reconvex it or bevel it. Sometimes you can look up in here, and this will kind of give you a clue of whether it was originally convex or bevel. It might have been a semi-convex or a micro bevel. Let me look. See right here, because a lot of times people can't start when they're sharpening, like right up here in that corner, and you can see a difference in the angles. And you can also see how much metal's been taken off over time. So I'm going to sharpen these different than this one, and these different too. So my first step before sharpening any shears is I'm going to test it and see how it cuts. On groomer scissors, sometimes it's good to have some fur, and it can be real, like I have rabbit hair here, or it can be like this artificial fur. And I'm just going to see what we're starting with here. You see, it flips and it folds. And that's not a product of that screw. So I know I've got a ways to go on this one. Let's see what this one cuts like. Same thing, see, it flips and folds. That screw's really, really loose. Oh, this is one of those bent handles. You see that? You don't see that in hairstylist shears. You'll see it in groomer shears. And because you can kind of, you've got room for your hand to kind of get in close on like a dog, it kind of lifts your hand up. We once tried that on a beauty shear because so many times you copy one from the other. And I remember the story on that. We had an experimental shear, let some people try it where the handle was up like this. And I let everybody try it. Nobody liked it, so it was like, okay, that was a bad experiment. But we had it left out at a hair show, and it was stolen. And I actually knew who stole it, but I really didn't care because we weren't going to sell it. But every once in a while, I'd hear back from somebody that knew this particular guy that I knew stole it. Look at that! When I tighten the screw, it cuts. Biggest problem there was a loose screw. And so every once in a while, I won't say his name, but let's say it's Charles. And I'd say, that's not his name. And I'd say, hey, have you heard from Charles? Yeah, he's having some really bad luck, and you know, things aren't going good for him. I said, well, if you see Charles, you'll tell him that Bonnie McGowan has specifically been praying for him. And then somebody told me that he didn't like our shears. He had a pair of our shears and he didn't like the way they cut. And see, I know he never bought any shears from us, so I know I know it was so stolen shears. And you see, this one's not cutting. Those are my straight ones. Let's see how these curved ones cut. You know, we have 1,000,001 stories, and if you come by the office, we'll bore you with them. So if we talk too many stories, you just shut us off. I see that one cuts pretty good. Not too bad. So that shouldn't be too hard to make it better. And let's see how this curved one cuts. Oh, not at all. And it's loose, so that might fix it. So the Kenchii. I'm going to take these two apart. These I will not take apart. So the honed shears, whether they're beveled or convex, I will take apart. The non-honed shears, I won't say never, but usually I won't take them apart unless there's some reason I suspect there's a problem with the screw. So I'm taking this apart. And if you notice, I've got a diamond stone out here because I think I'm going to have to get a little aggressive with my Rideline. I normally just use the water stone over here, but this one I'm preparing for extra work. Now, I always talk about don't ever get alcohol on your water stone, but if it accidentally gets on my diamond stone, it's not a big deal. So there's a little Rideline here. It's not completely gone. The Rideline keeps the two blades from cutting into each other. It makes the shears quieter. It makes them smoother. That's the purpose of it. but you'll really only see a distinct ride line, which is a backwards J, comes down here and comes up on the hone shears. Hone means they have a deep hollow, and it's used, it has a ride line. So I'm going to start out on the diamond. If you look in the light, you'll see there's a shiny line from here to here. The red's removed. No red is removed from here to here. So I'm going to go leave this hanging off so I don't strip my tip. And I'm working, you got to have that whole area on here. This shear may have a little too much bow to it. Not quite, still I don't have it from here to here. And this blade's getting pretty skinny. So as I'm working it, I'm seeing ride line coming up the back a little bit too, which I don't like that. It's a little bit bad. Little bit bad. This is real life sharpening. This isn't just demonstration of something I know is going to come out nice. This is like, let's see what happens to these shears, Bonnie. Grooming shears, typically you can't get as much for sharpening grooming shears because they're usually cheaper scissors and they have larger quantities. And I find grooming shears are harder to sharpen because you just run into more problems because they're cheaper scissors and they're longer. And they've been abused a lot of times, falling on the floor. But people that do primarily sharpen for groomers, some of them are making some really, really good income. And I just heard back from a sharpener I trained 2 years ago. I hear people coming in and out the door, that ding dong. I heard from a sharpener I trained 2 years ago that has been doing almost entirely grooming shears. And he was doing so well, he actually was able to sell half of his territory to someone and still has enough that he's probably making well over $80,000 a year, but he's not having to work as hard. But if you do grooming shears, you got to do clipper blades, which means it's a whole nother machine. It means it's a whole nother training. It also means that you either have to bring it back and forth from your house or have a van. You can't just sharpen in the salon. And I still haven't decided whether I'm going to try to reconvex them or bevel them. I think I'm going to bevel them, which means I'm going to use a flat plate. Here's a flat plate. What grit is on here? It's a fresh 400. I might use a worn 400 grit. This is like sandpaper. Put it on the plate. It's like it's Velcro on the back. Yes, it has a little give to it. It's not completely flat like the PSAs that stick down, but I find that the little bit of give is forgiving. So I've got my clamp set at 40 already. It's already colored in on the edge. Let's just see what angle we're starting with. This angle just tells me what the last sharpener did it at. It doesn't necessarily tell me what I want to sharpen at. So tighten this down, and I don't have to scratch the whole blade. Just find a representative spot. And they did it, it's taking it right off of the edge. Oh, hey, let me get something show you close, because this tells me something. I've been utilizing my phone and zooming in, and I took a picture of this because what I want you to see is that when I did the scratch test, there's red down the middle and it's silver on the edge and silver on the back, which means it tells me that the last person who sharpened it with a grinder type thing, a twice as sharp. So that may explain why they're beveled and instead of convex. But It looks like it's right on the money at 40, so I'm going to leave it at 40 degrees. I'm kind of surprised they didn't do it at 35, but let's leave it at 40. And I'm pulling it across. Landing, in my mind, I'm landing like 1/4 of an inch in front of the edge of the plate, because if I land here, it'll take off too much in that back area. And as I pull it across, I can pull my finger across too. The work's done with my left hand. My right hand is just kind of resting there. I'm not getting a burr at the tip, so sometimes tilting it down. You know what, I'm going to go to this, I'm going to start with this fresh 400 and then go down to this worn 400. Because I don't want to be here all day. I got other things to do. And this one is going to be an interesting one to do a video on. He specifically requested a video. Told his customer their shears are going to be on the video. So I got a nice burr all the way down. Little iffy at the tip. That's what an iffy tip looks like. So you see, now I've got it clean all the way to the tip. I'm going to get that burr on this one. How much pressure am I pressing here? This was a piece of paper. Pressing that much. Just kind of holding it on there. You can use your pointer finger or this finger. Slide it down the blade. I'm nowhere near the burr on here. I wonder if he changed angles between the two different blades. Interesting. No. I don't have any burr at all. I'm just going a little faster and a little slower. My fingers on the blade help me know if it overheats. I got it burr all the way down. It's still iffy at the tip. Looks like the last shear, so I'm not going to stop and show you. I'm still going to land up here, but when I get to the tip, I'm slowing down. Still got a little tiny bit right there. That'll do. So now this is going to be a little odd maybe for you. I'm going down to my worn 400. I could actually go to something finer than that if I wanted to. I'm going to go back to my stone, pull off my burr. I started up here because that was the area I couldn't get that ride line, and now I can't get the burr removed. Same thing here. We may cut it off. And I'll show what I'm talking about. I'm back here. And I've pulled up another burr, but I went through quickly. And it's just a little bit more shiny. And that little bit of burr that I created that time, we're going to cut off on a paper towel. And I'm not even really doing an examination of it. I just know I've got the clamp set right. Let's clean them up, put them back together without the blades touching. That's kind of key. Now, I just watched a video with someone that took all the bounciness, the curve out of this little clicker plate, and he said it made the shears better. I thought that was an interesting video. Kind of find it hard to believe because it wouldn't be shaped like this if it was better flat. I think the extra space in here gives a little bit more tension to the screw so it doesn't back out. I'm not going to argue with another sharpener because they've, I'm sure, have experimented with it and found it works. And I have not experimented with it, so I can't tell you if it does really work or not. I just know always with my sharpening and even with the tools, as much as possible. And the next video I'm going to show you where I have to break some rules from the factories. But as much as possible, I follow what the factory seemed. Now, as I said, I told you I think these were originally convex, and I didn't go back to the convex shape. But so I'm cutting a Bounty paper towel, and that should cut any inside burr off. And my friend J.D. Horn, always on these beveled edges, he goes over it with a ceramic stick. And so I learn a lot from other sharpeners, not just from the factories. And he says that smooths it out a little bit more. I double check that tip, make sure it's not pointy, scratchy, make sure it comes together. And let's test it on some tissue first. Yes, this is toilet tissue. Let's cut dry. That's good enough. If it cuts wet, it's super, but it felt pretty good. A little bit of wet. Wet tells me if all the burrs and nicks are out, and it cuts good wet, but that's not good enough for grooming shears. I want to actually cut some fur with them. So I'm kind of pulling this up. Remember how they cut before? And I've got my thumb out, so I'm using the least pressure possible. So I'm going to call these done. This pair I'm going to do exactly the same way. So let's look at the non-honed guide scissors. How do I do these? Hey, I'm Bonnie McGowan, and this is what I do. About every Monday, I'll be uploading a new video. So if you want to see them and catch them, make sure that you subscribe and hit the notification bell. If you have any comments or suggestions of some videos you'd like to see, make sure you let me know. I answer all the comments. Now, if you're looking for the tools that I used in this video and the different things that I used, those should be in links below or on the product page, or if not, you should find them on my website, bonika.com. There's all kinds of things in the description below on how you can connect and contact me. So stay sharp. I'll see you in the next video.